Welcome to Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network. Your home for the latest news from the National Lacrosse League and indoor lacrosse. Now, let's talk some lacrosse with your hosts, Jake Elliott and Evan Schemenauer.
Happy New Year, lacrosse fans. Welcome back to Lacrosse Classified here on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network, episode 60, about to fly your way. As it's Jake Elliott and Evan Schemenauer back with you once again for another big episode. Two great guests lined up on the podcast today. We got ourselves Bradley Kri from the Toronto Rock and Kevin Crowley from the Philadelphia Wings. Both teams winning this past weekend in an action-packed, jam-packed Week 5 in the National Lacrosse League. Evan, the last time we talked, it was a day before Christmas. Now it's a day before New Year's. Merry Christmas. How was Santa? Did he treat you well?
Santa got me a pair of Beats, so I was pretty happy about that.
Wireless, black, white. What do you got over there?
Black, yep.
And did you go with like the big DJ ones, like the big puffy ones, or did you go with the earbuds? What do you got?
The puffy ones, but it's actually a fairly small head. It just barely covers the outside of your ear, and it folds into this nice case. It's actually very small.
Yeah, no, I got a couple pairs of Beats that I mean, I've had them forever, and I don't know why I went and bought a second pair, but they're fantastic. But now I got the AirPods, and I can't go back to anything else now. Having that wireless earpod, it's a game changer, man. Especially in the gym. I got myself a new Fitbit watch that I'm quite excited about. I mentioned I got a bunch of stuff under the tree early. We don't need to rehash all that sort of stuff out. What about New Year's? What do you got going on?
Just be careful you don't have an ESPN incident, okay?
I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
We'll leave that for another day.
Okay, you're gonna have to fill me out. You're gonna have to.
What I'm talking
no,
about.
I honestly do not know what you're talking about. But if you want to tell me off the air at a later time, if that's safer for you to do, I'm all ears. But if you want to let it out here, is it going to bury me if you tell me what you're talking about right now? Okay.
Right, no, it's a situation where a female ESPN analyst bought her boyfriend a Fitbit for a Christmas present, and then managed to track where the Fitbit was having a little too much activity at the wrong time of day.
The heart rate was a little too high when she wasn't around. Is that okay?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I got nothing. I got nothing to hide, man. I got nothing to hide. You can put GPS on me all you want. What about New Year's, man? You got big plans for later on this evening? You gonna hit the town, bang some pots and pans around, go light up Saskatoon? What's happening?
I think it's gonna be pretty simple, and I think Tracy and I are gonna go for dinner, and maybe some friends will come over. I know they've got the karaoke machine all wired up, ready to go.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's what it is, but it's not going to be anything too drastic. How about you?
Rhinestone Cowboy on the playlist, I hope.
Actually, well, it's got 200,000 songs or something like that on this thing, so it's got to be on there.
I should hope so. The classic. Hey, listen, man, it was a massive Week 5 in the National Lacrosse League. We got to get into it right now in Stampede Tack's Who We Had. And by now you should know, but just in case you don't, they are more than just a boot store. They carry a wide range of outerwear and jean jackets, including the all-time classic Storm Rider. Gear for the outdoors and gear for fashion. They ship Canada-wide, located in Cloverdale since 1967. Shop online at stampede.ca, where shopping online is still shopping local. I got to tell you, Evan, I've been sitting back, just waiting, biding my time for podcast recording time here, because I am sitting up on about as high of a horse as you can get right now, because I did better than you in Week 5.
Well, okay, but you were what, 5-3. I was.
I was lucky not to be 6-2. I was.
Well, okay, but you know what? Neither of us were 8-0.
No. Our winner was
this week.
Our winner went 8-0. We'll mention that momentarily once we get through all these games. But, yeah, impressive stuff to go 8-0. But I was a goal away from going 6-2. I end up 5-3 as San Diego beat Vancouver in overtime. Brody Merrill, the overtime winner there. We'll get to that. But as it stands...
But the other shocking thing, when you look at what some of these games were, just the percentages of how few people actually picked the right winner in some of them, that's what even makes the 8-0 even more impressive.
No, it's absolutely mind-boggling to think that somebody would go 8-0, especially with some of the upsets that happen. Let's talk about some of these upsets. So we're going to get into under review in the fourth quarter, by the way. So hang with us there. We got 8 games to talk about. So we'll leave under review to the fourth quarter. Let's start. Where do we start, Evan? We got to start in New England as the Riptide played 2 games this weekend, but it didn't go so well for the new expansion team. Riptide against the Black Wolves, and this one was never really close, Evan. 21-11 as the Black Wolves keep it rolling.
And we came close to having a race for the all-time points in one game, with Callum Crawford having 14, and he didn't score he didn't get a point in the last 10 minutes of the game. So there was a possibility there. Great crowd in New England. There were a few arenas this week where the crowd started to turn in a positive direction. New England, the only seats that weren't sold were the ones that were obstructed views. So great there. But, when you looked at the post-game interview with Callum Crawford there, he said they weren't actually happy with the performance, and I get where they're coming from in that they allowed 11 goals, and they should not have allowed that many, and they kind of let up at certain points in the game and let New York back into it. New York was up 2-0 in the first couple of minutes, only for New England to score. I think it was the next, 11 or something like that, and then the game was pretty much over. But they should have done a little bit better in a consistent performance. They've noticed that. And here's a consistent thing you're going to hear from me this week is if there's this debate out there whether faceoffs matter. Let's put it this way. 7 of the 8 winners this week had the faceoff win total. The only one that didn't was Jeremy Thompson, lost the faceoff battle. He's the only one. But right, what's going on in New England here? We were wondering who the heck was going to be taking their face-offs, right? And Nardella is just going off the charts. Like 27 of 36 in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's put himself into the conversation with Baptiste and Withers after 3 games for the Black Wolves. He's been that impressive. You hear that, Ty Merrow? 7 out of the 8 winners this weekend won their face-off battle. So I think the debate can finally be put to rest. They matter. They matter, Evan. Let's move along here because we got a busy week to go through. And game number 2, Calgary at San Diego, in a game that I took the Roughnecks, you took the Seals, 16-11 Riggers over San Diego.
Yeah, a disappointing performance from San Diego, and Frank Scigliano did not have his best game there. But the fact that they never pulled him was even maybe a little more surprising. Never gave Nick DeVoot a chance to get in there, especially when they had to play a second game that weekend. What can you say here? It was a late second quarter, early third quarter run by Calgary. I believe it was 6 in a row that ultimately sealed the fate for San Diego. And, it's another one of these disappointing performances at home for a team that's struggling to draw at a crowd at home.
Yeah, got to get your home wins if you're a new franchise, and San Diego unable to do that. I think they left Frankie in there because they know they're going to go as far as Frankie takes them, and I know that's a lot of pressure to put on one guy, but that's kind of the goaltending position in a nutshell. You're going to go as far as your goalie takes you in the sport of lacrosse, really. And Frank was unbelievable in Vancouver a couple of days later. We'll get on to that. But for Calgary, if there's a guy in the league that may have the book on Scigliano, it's Jesse King. And we're going to talk about King as well, but man, he just seems to know exactly where to shoot and when to shoot on Frank Scigliano, as he had a big night.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate what happened later on in the second game, but hopefully we see Jesse back. I'm hoping in the summer.
I think we're gonna we'll talk about Jesse, but I think we're gonna see him back long before that. Let's move along. So after 2 games, I was 2-0, Evan. I was 2-0. You were just 1-1 after 2 games of play. Toronto went into Rochester to take on the Nighthawks, and again here for Rochester, I think we've seen steady improvement each game that they've played. This may be their best, but they still come up a few goals short as Toronto picks up a road win. We'll talk to Brad Kri about it. 14-11 rock over the Nighthawks.
In a game where Rochester did itself a favor by staying out of the penalty box. They weren't in the penalty box, in fact, I think until the last few seconds of the game. Or actually, so they took one penalty. No, the last few seconds of the game. So they were shorthanded for a whole 11 seconds in this game. But Toronto went on a 6-goal roll, in the late second, early third quarter. Once again, is what decided it. I don't know if Toronto can be overly happy with its performance. But Craig Wendy came in strong in relief. Now, this is one of those stats, again, I hate, is that Craig Wendy gets tagged with the loss because he allowed the 12th goal, although Rochester was never even close to holding the lead the entire time he was in the cage.
Yeah, so I don't know, what is your solution for that? Is it the goaltender that allows more goals, the goaltender that spends more time in the net? How do you solve that dilemma?
Take a baseball approach to it, and that is that if
hang on a second here, Evan. I never listen. You, I don't ever want to take a baseball approach to anything when it comes to the sport of lacrosse, but I will let you finish your thought here.
Okay, in baseball, the pitcher that is responsible for losing the lead or is the one that ultimately gets tagged with the loss. So if the team never recovers, they get tagged with the loss.
Yeah, I mean it could work. It could work. I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I mean that's kind of the life of a backup goaltender as well. You got to take your lumps, and if you come in and you steal the show, then you get the glory as well. So after 3 games, Evan, I was 3-0. You were 2-1. We move along to maybe the most surprising game of the weekend, except for maybe our buddy Edward Jenner, who took his Colorado Mammoth to beat the Georgia Swarm, and that's exactly what happened down there in Gwinnett County. 13-11 Mammoth, and this, I was ultraly impressed by the Mammoth in this victory over the Swarm.
So was I. I mean, first off, if anybody holds the Georgia Swarm to 11 games, they got 11 goals, they got a fighting chance. This is a Mammoth offense that struggled. They scored 8 goals on average pretty much the entire way through. So to get 13 with their defense is normally going to get you the result. And when you look at where the offense came from, Lee had 8 points, and I'm trying to remember who else, but
Rouet had a big game.
Rouet had 7 or 5 goals. So, and actually, the strange thing is in that tiebreak question, Rouet's starting to get a few answers from people. It's not more; it's more than one. So,
and again, doing this without Eli McLaughlin as well.
Yeah,
their best offensive player. So, impressive stuff there for the Mammoth. And you're right. I think I went on record saying that Georgia was going to score at least 10 in every game that they played this year. Well, that's still alive. But I don't know if anybody expected Colorado to put up 13 on the Swarm. And Georgia went up in this game a couple of times by 2 goals, maybe 3 or 4 times even, but they could just never get that 3-goal lead. They got it to 2 a bunch of times, and then Colorado would answer back, and they'd answer back, and they just never went away. And that was a real impressive win for the Mammoth, no question about it. After coming off an overtime victory over Calgary, they go and they beat the Georgia Swarm. And that just tells me, as it does for New England, those 2 teams are for real and here to play in 2019-2020, as is the next team we're going to talk about here, Evan. As we both had Georgia in that game, so we both take the L in that one. We both took the L in the next game as well, as the Thunderbirds go into Bandit Land and hang a 15-10 loss on the Bandits here as Halifax keeps it rolling.
And let's go to the face-off stat again. Jake Withers, 22 of 28.
Whew.
Ian McKay, 4 of 13. Nick Lees, 2 of 14. Okay? Like, that is, especially when you're going on a run like Halifax did. They went on 2 massive runs. And the thing is that every time they went on this massive run, Buffalo couldn't get the ball back because Withers was winning the draw.
Yeah.
And how critical is that?
It's momentum.
Sustaining,
momentum is huge.
But a guy like Mike Burke gets 8 points. That's not expected either. So, the offense is coming. It's not coming from the guys you expect from. Jammer or Benny. It's coming from other guys that maybe we didn't expect are going to haven't. But Matt Vince. This is the one thing about Matt Vince is that he will have 3 or 4 amazing games and then 1 stinker.
Yeah.
And this was an outright stinker for him. 12 goals on 30 shots.
I'm not worried. And I remember when Vince got to Buffalo last year and had a couple of losses, people were like, oh, Vince is done. He's washed up. We got damaged goods here. Like, just slow down a bit on Vino, the greatest goaltender to ever play the sport of box lacrosse. Matt Vince is going to be just fine. He's still got plenty of stops left in that body. And just
I hate to be his next opponent.
Yeah, had a bad night. I don't know who his next opponent is because it's a little ways down the line here, but he's going to be fine. The Bandits are going to be fine. They're still kind of working through their injury issues up front, and a long time off before getting back to work there, and just kind of watching the Bandits a little bit. By the way, Evan, congratulations to our compadre, one Jonathan Gertler, who I know listens to the program quite a bit, surpassing the 300-game plateau in the National Lacrosse League. And we've talked to Gertzy about this. Between him and Ripper, Craig Rubinski, these two guys are kind of going back neck and neck here with calling the most games in the National Lacrosse League in their history.
Yeah, and think about 300 games, you only get about 10 home games a year, right?
Well, he goes on the road, though. He goes on the road,
which helps.
So does Rip.
Yeah.
So that's that's a lot of years of service, and he and Randy Mearns and our buddy Steve Bermel has chipped in there as well. A lot of games for John Gertler there in Banditland, and one of my favorite guys to listen to, and it's when you hear John's voice, you know it's John Gertler. You know what I'm saying there? The webbing and the rebound and the save. I can't get enough of John Gertler. So congratulations on 300 games in the National Lacrosse League. But where I was going with that is watching Josh Byrne play, and we know Burner's had some injuries over the last couple of years. To me, he was moving around so well. He finally looks like he's 100%. And when Josh Byrne is going at 100%, look out, National Lacrosse League.
Yeah, no question. And, when you looked at even the PLL this summer, when he was finally available to play, and he and Connor Fields, some of the plays they were pulling off were just insane.
Yeah.
Like, especially the behind-the-back pass to a guy that's not open to a behind-the-back shot, right?
Yeah, it might have been the goal of the year in the PLL. Goal of the year. The Reba save! All right, that's it for Gertler. Let's move along here. We both had the Bandits in that one, Evan. So things going from bad to worse is we both took another L there. So after that, I was 4-2. Saskatchewan and the Riptide. So the Riptide playing their home opener here, Evan. Back-to-back nights. They go home, but they got to take on the Saskatchewan Rush, who are some kind of pissed off after losing to New England in their home opener, stewing for a week. They get to the Big Apple. They're waiting there for the Riptide, and they put a weapon on them. I think of this, maybe the scoreline isn't as bad as it really seems because they went almost an entire second half without scoring, but the Riptide could just never get the offense going, and Evan Kirk was out of his mind. Like, for me, Evan, once in a while, like Matt Vince, he'll have an off game, but what makes Evan Kirk so good to me is when he does have a bad game, when he comes back for the next one, he's usually really, really, really good, and that's what he was in New York. 11-4 the final in this one.
Yeah, 9-10 save percentage for Kirk, and absolutely phenomenal performance. But the Rush literally took the Riptide out of this game fast, and it's tough for those first-time fans to watch this, and it's 6-0 almost immediately, and it was ugly, and maybe a little fortunate for the Riptide that the Rush went away from what worked for them in that first half, which they were just pushing and pushing and pushing, and slowed up and tried to make things happen through the middle, and nothing was happening. So I think there's a little bit of a concern there for the Rush. The other concern has got to be maybe it's lucky that it happened in this game, but Jeremy Thompson getting back to too many penalties and stupid ones at that, a delay of game one, holding the stick while he's running off the floor to the bench, a dead ball foul that took away a power play. These things got to stop.
Yeah, got to get cleaned up there. No question about it for JT, and I think the message will get home for him. Other notables in this game, Holden Garland getting his first goal. I want to talk about first goals and rookies a little later on, but Justin Robinson did not look out of place. Jordy Jones-Smith gets back into that lineup. How about the one-handed, blind, behind-the-back sub-pass to Robert Church for his fourth goal of the game into the empty net, mind you. But Mark Matthews, with one of the greatest passes I've seen so far this year, his face is literally pressed up against the glass. He's got two guys on him, and with his right hand, no look, just kind of flips it backwards blindly right into the stick of Church, who finds the open net. That thing was beautiful.
But he had to have known where Church was.
Well,
That's
sure.
The crazy thing is, it's not like this is a blind pass and it just happened to fall into the stick. No, he knew where he was.
Well, that's what makes it even more impressive, though.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we both had the Rush in that one. 6 games down, 2 to go here, Evan, on Stampede Tax, who we had. Philadelphia at Calgary. Now, if you'll recall a week ago here on episode 59 of Lacrosse Classified, you tried to sway me here. I gave you the option that I would let you pick first and I would pick the other team. You took me up on that offer, Evan, and you took the Calgary Roughnecks, which turned out to be, well, the wrong pick, as the Philadelphia Wings pull off a dramatic victory that sounded like this.
Now under 9. Crowley with it. Now they'll start to organize themselves for the play. It's Rambo with it. Rambo takes the shot and scores! Matt Rambo with 1.8 seconds to go. It's heartbreak for the Roughnecks. An elation for the Wings.
That would be one Grant Farhall on the call there on BR Live, courtesy of the NLL. And just to kind of tee that up a little bit more, Evan, Philly gets the ball. They get possession. They call timeout. What was there? About 13 seconds left. They kind of hold the ball to the outside. They start the play. Kevin Crowley gets double-teamed and finds an open Matt Rambo. This happens with 1.2 left on the clock. Rambo sticks it 5-hole for the 8-7 victory for the Philly Wings.
Now, for those that are expecting us to talk about the whole travel schedule and everything for the Calgary Roughnecks, stay tuned to the fourth quarter. We'll get to that in the under review segment. But, one of those games where, once again, face-offs mattered. Matt Rambo wins 14-19, gets the ball back to his team.
Baptiste.
And then the thing was, if you remember when we talked about this game, I said, this is what makes this game so difficult to pick is the fact that you've got a Calgary team that is on this crazy travel schedule, might have a delay of game penalty coming up to start the game. They did, and Philly scored on that delay of game, and in the end, that made a difference.
Yeah, 1-goal victory. They score on that delay of game, and, again, we'll talk about it in under review in the fourth quarter, but for me, Evan...
One thing that's just going to get in quick here.
Yeah, go for it.
Crazy stat. Right now, Christian Del Bianco has lost twice. He's allowed 8 goals in both losses.
Yeah, that's kind of unheard of, really. And I mean, what more can you do if you're Del Bianco, right? Like you gotta hope your offense is going to show up for you. And Colorado maybe to be expected with that defense. I don't know if they expected to be limited to 7 against the Philadelphia Wings, but you got to give that Wings unit some credit here as well, Evan, and in particular Zach Higgins, who was just remarkable all night long in between the pipes for Philly.
Now, we saw this brilliance in him in Buffalo before Matt Vince was able to get back into his ways there. But, Zach Higgins, he's been one of these guys that he's been on the brink, and now he's had his chance, and he shined in this game. But, of course, the other story here, and this is hard to say it, but once Jesse King went down in this game, Calgary's offense flatlined.
Yeah, I mean, and they're already without Doby, right? And then to see King go down and kind of hanging onto his arm as he left the floor, and the prognosis for Kinger, not great. I think it's an injury that he can return from. I don't know exactly how long he'll be out, but I think he gets back before the season is over. And we saw what happened with the Roughnecks when Jesse King was inserted into that lineup just before playoff time last year. And they'll be getting a double shot because Dane Doby will be stepping back into that lineup probably right around the same time as well. But to get back to Zach Higgins, like I was with Higgy back, I want to say 2012, back when he was with the Swarm, and he and Carlson were kind of taking turns, and it just didn't work out. And then he got a little sniff in Calgary, and that didn't pan out either. On he went to Buffalo. He's bounced around a lot, but I think in that time for Zach Higgins, he has really matured both mentally and physically as a goaltender. And we've mentioned it a bunch of times on this program, Evan. It just takes some goaltenders, it just takes them longer to figure it out. But, man, it sure looks like Zach Higgins has figured it out at the National Lacrosse League level now.
Oh, no question. And now, when next time you look at Philadelphia, they play again this weekend. I think Philadelphia is a heavy favorite going into the next one.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in Stampede Tack's Who You Got coming up. Just to remind you, though, Evan, I had Philadelphia in that game. You had Calgary. So I won and you lost.
Thank you, Brody Merrill.
Yeah. Let's get to that. Our final game here. It could have been devastating for you, Evan. It really could have been. As the Warriors and San Diego Seals go to overtime, this was a fantastic lacrosse game at Rogers Arena. Good crowd on hand there for Sunday Fun Day as well. Lloyd getting his first goal. Eric Penny got the start for Vancouver. We mentioned Chiliano, a real bounce-back game for the Seals. Connor Fields goes off for 4 goals here. Graydon Bradley gets his first goal in front of friends and family there at the Raj. This was a heck of a game. Brody Merrill in OT, 11-10 the final.
And Connor Fields, think back to when we had Andy Towers on this program, and he talked about Connor Fields being the greatest field player there is in the game. He doesn't have that much box experience, and we're kind of waiting to see where he is at it. He definitely wasn't afraid to fire 15 shots.
Yeah, he's starting to figure it out.
But he found four of them found the back of the net. Anytime you can get that, you'll take it. Let's put it this way. For San Diego, this was a must-win. After the loss on Friday night, this was a must-win. They went 0-4 to start the year. The season's probably done.
Yeah.
So this gets them back in it. But for Vancouver, it almost was a must-win too. They, to get 2 out of 3 at home before you start getting back on the road, that's a tough one there. But the one thing I think we got to start to talk about is with Jones, and where do you put him amongst the top forwards in the league? I wouldn't put him at the very top, but I think
top 10.
My respect for his game is just going up and up every time I see him play.
Top 10 for Jonesy. I mean. And the thing is, let's not forget, Evan, when he broke into the National Lacrosse League, originally drafted by the Stealth, was still playing hockey at Northern Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. And Stealth traded him away to Buffalo. And when Mitch Jones started his NLL career, he was playing out of the back gate in transition. And now he is right near the top of the scoring in the National Lacrosse League. And He's electric, man. He came so close to winning that game in overtime, missed the shot, however, and Merrill picks it up, goes the other way, and pots it home. What can you say about the legend Brody Merrill? That was a massive goal for them. And a game that San Diego gets it done with not much from Zach Greer or Wes Berg in that game. So that's a good sign for San Diego. Not the fact that they didn't get much from those guys, but the fact that they got a win without getting much from those guys is a huge positive for them. And you're right. I think Vancouver can take a lot of things away. Unfortunately, moral victories don't get you anywhere in the NLL. But a lot of positives coming out of that game for Vancouver. And I think some things they can kind of hang their hat on as well. But, a chance to win back-to-back home games, a chance to win 2 in a row for the first time since becoming the Warriors, and just a goal away, an overtime loss away from that happening. That's a tough loss. I think they get over it, though, and they move along and look forward here. And they're going to get Joel McCready back pretty soon as well, from what I understand, and he'll be a nice injection onto that right side as well when he makes his return to the lineup. So, at the end of 8 big games in week number 5, I go 5-3, Evan. You go 4-4. We were tied after week 4. Now the standings look like this. I'm at 13-7. You are at 12-8. That means I'm 1 game ahead, which means you get to host Who You Got once again this week. I will take it. You were very lucky not to be down 2 games here, Evan. Be thankful you're only down 1.
Well, before you forget, you better announce the win from last week.
I will do. I was just about to do that after I rubbed it in a little further there. Hutton Jackson is our winner. We mentioned Hutton went 8-0. The only man or woman to do so this weekend. I couldn't be more impressed. You look at those picks that he made. He had Colorado over Georgia. He had Philadelphia over Calgary. He had Halifax over Buffalo. So some real tough picks there, but Hutton Jackson is our big winner. Congratulations winning week 5's Who You Got. All right. What do you got?
And the stats, when you look at those there, I think only just over 10% of people took Philly, and not only about 15% or something took Colorado. So to have the odds of getting all 8 right were pretty slim this week.
Very slim. Tough to go 8-0 in a week like that. Impressive stuff. Congratulations, Hutton. Keep playing. Don't forget, sign up every single week for Who You Got. You can win the grand prize for the entire season, or you can win multiple weekly prizes if you do well every week, and that's just going to increase your chances to win the grand prize as well. So make sure you're signing up. Take 60 seconds every single week. Light week 6 in the National Lacrosse League, just 2 games. But nonetheless, get your picks in, and Evan will have all the tiebreaker scenarios for you. Thank goodness for that, Evan, because I would be lost without you when it comes to the tiebreaker formulas. I would not be able to figure it out.
Yeah, had Vancouver won that, it was crazy that we needed to go all the way into the 3rd tiebreak to get rid of this, to break apart the 7-1s. In fact, we would have had our first female winner.
Oh.
Had Vancouver scored, and she would have won by not only the 3rd tiebreak, the 4th tiebreak.
Wow. Wow, man, she must be steamed. By the way, I shouldn't mention this because she's probably still upset about it, but Danny lost her fantasy football. She was in the Super Bowl of fantasy football yesterday, a chance to pull in $1,000, and started the wrong quarterback yesterday and came up short. She was quite upset about it. Tried to console her all day long. I didn't do a very good job of it.
Week 17 leagues are such a crapshoot to win.
Well, that's about it, right? So, Evan, let's get to break here. Quarter 1 is done. Quarter 2 is next, and we got the big cat on the other side. PVL athlete from the Philadelphia Wings, Kevin Crowley, will join us next. Keep it right here on Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network.
Pure Vita Labs is proud to bring you the highest quality sports supplements on the market. PVL products are 100% all-natural with no artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners. And the entire line is also Informed Choice certified. We designed all our products with the athlete in mind. We look forward to being a part of your athletic achievements, helping you push the bar higher, win at the highest levels, and set personal records for years to come.
this is Robert Hope of the Colorado Mammoth and the Favorite Lakers. You're listening to Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Star Podcast Network, growing the game one podcast at a time.
Welcome back to Lacrosse Classified, episode number 60 here, just before the turn of the calendar. Jake Elliott, Evan Sheminar with you. You just heard from our good friends at Pure Vital Labs, and the man we're about to talk to also sponsored by that fine company. Check them out at pvl.com. They got the MCT oil, Plant Pro, BCAA, glutamine, recovery, all Informed Choice certified, nothing artificial in there. It's all good stuff, and tons of pro lacrosse players on PVL supplements, including this man right here who we're about to talk to, coming off a thrilling 8-7 victory over the Calgary Roughnecks over the weekend, as Rambo scoring with just over a second to go. Former number 1 overall pick in the National Lacrosse League as well, Kevin Crowley, onto the program. Welcome to Lax Class, Big Cat.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My pleasure, man. Good to run you down. Let's flash back a couple of days to Cowtown, man. That was a big victory for you guys. You run into a tough test right off the get-go, and then you got to go up against the defending champions in your second game of the season on the road. But a real good performance, maybe the best performance I've seen the Wings play since their return to the league. Summarize it in your eyes, Kevin. What did you think of that game?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think, a lot of people are writing us off this year. As much as you try not to look at the media and who they think's going to win, you always come across it. And I think this was a big game for our confidence, the franchise, and something that we're hoping to build off of going forward.
Just so you know, before Evan gets in here, I picked you guys to win last week, Kevin. I picked you. No,
you didn't. No.
All right, Evan, your turn.
All right. A bit of an unusual start to this game. Your opponent's having some travel issues. You get a delay in the game. How does that affect your preparation going to the game when you all of a sudden find out you're going to be another half hour late? And I guess, was there any weaknesses you noticed in Calgary because of the travel that you were able to exploit?
Yeah, there was certainly a lot of sitting around before the game. You try to get there 2 hours early and get everything, go through your routine and be prepared for that 8 o'clock start. But obviously, being delayed, it's a little different. But, being in the league 9 seasons now, these things happen. You come to, not expect them, but, it's one of those things you just have to deal with, some adversity. And, we were lucky to come on top that game. And, I think a lot of they're such an athletic defense that, I didn't really feel like they were showing signs that they were slowing down, especially right off the hop.
Before we get into some other, do you got what is your worst nightmare travel day that you've ever had in the National Lacrosse League? I know you've had some doozies,
oh, man,
and you're a big
question.
fella with the the long legs on the short planes and all the rest of it. Give me your worst ever.
There's some airlines that are worse. Obviously, the coming back to the East Coast from the West Coast is tougher. So most recently, just yesterday, was pretty tough coming from Calgary back to Philadelphia. We had a layover in Toronto. And, again, running into those, the leg room issues and, after playing a full game and getting on that flight and getting crammed in there, it's pretty tough. But, like we said earlier, it's part of playing in the NLL and, everyone's got to deal with it.
Let's talk about Zach Higgins for a second. 48 of 55, a heck of a performance. New guy on the roster. How do you see him adapting so far within the framework of the team?
Yeah, he's been great for us. And one thing that really stands out to me is how, professional he treats his preparation, with sometimes I guess goalies can probably skip out on the physical training portion of being a professional lacrosse player, and that's not Higgy. He's doing the band work. He's getting on the foam roller before the games and, treating it like a true professional would. And I think, the way he played this past game is just a testament to that.
speaking with Kevin Crowley of the Philadelphia Wings. And Kevin, how long did it take you to kind of get back into things after the holdout and getting traded from New England before returning to Philadelphia where you once were drafted? I know that was important for you to get back home, but how long did it take you to kind of round back into form after sitting out that long?
Yeah, that's always tough to not. I guess I was going to say to not even have a training camp, but I guess no one really had a training camp. There was a lot of excitement getting back that first game. It was the U.S. Lacrosse night, I believe, in Philly too. So I had a lot of friends from out of town coming to watch the game, and to kind of get my debut in that one was obviously a really cool experience, and to be back in a Wings uniform, it's really something that I won't take for granted again.
Yeah, I mean, and to speak to that, like a lot of new faces there, and you're still kind of getting to know some guys on that Wings team, and in particular, I would say Brett Hickey, who missed the entire year last year. You guys never even got a chance to play together. You got Kyle Matisse back up front, Courier there as well. How has the chemistry been going between the four of you guys on that left side for all the right-handers?
Yeah, I played with Hickey in Toronto in 2015 when I was up there for a cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
When we made that run.
Yeah.
So that was Hickey's best season offensively. I think he scored 51 goals that year.
Yeah.
And he was just lights out. And, I think, we bring some of that chemistry back from 2015. And I really like having a big body out there who can set some picks and has soft hands like him. He seems like he's always open. If he's throwing the ball, he's going to catch it. And then obviously Big Moose, our captain, having him up there, another big body that can set picks and has real soft hands. So it's a pleasure playing with these guys. Sometimes it feels like it makes it easy for us. And then you got Josh Courier flying around, doing all the little things that are so important to having a successful offense, picking up offensive rebounds. He might be one of the best crease divers in the league as well. So I think we got a pretty well-rounded offense.
Take us through the last possession. You get, tie game. You got last shot. What was said on the bench? What was the game plan going into that last possession?
We were just, it's been a funny, coming after that Georgia game, only scoring 6 goals. It was, I think our confidence took a bit of a hit, but it just seemed like going into that last play that, when you looked around, the guys were, believing in each other. And it was, whoever had that shot, we believe that anyone could put the ball in the back of the net. And, Rambo had a great shot and looks like it went 5-hole on him and 8-7, big win.
Yeah, I mean, and talk about that, Kevin, because Rambo, I mean, he didn't have a great night. Like, he kind of struggled that night, but at the end of the day, you kind of got shut off and had to make that play. But that just kind of speaks to what you just talked about, that you got full confidence in everybody that's on that floor on that offensive unit, that when given the opportunity, they're going to make the play and the right play, and Rambo was able to cash.
Yeah, and, look at what the guy's done in the sport of lacrosse. He's been clutch his whole life, no matter what league. I think he scored on his first shot of the game and then didn't score against the last one. But, he's the type of guy who's going to keep shooting that ball with the confidence that it's going to go in. And fortunately, it was in that circumstance.
At this stage in your career, you do have a little bit of say, at least in where you're going to play out your career. You got the chance to go back home to Philly. Why was it so important to go back home to Philly?
Well, Philly for me has been, ever since I got drafted here, I fell in love with the city. The first year I played here I lived here for 6 months, and I went home to Vancouver, and I lived in Florida actually for 3 months. And then it was full time in Philly ever since then. And it's really, as a professional lacrosse player goes, in the realm of professional sports, I really don't believe that there's a fan base that wraps their arms around the lacrosse players like they do in Philly. And that's one thing I definitely noticed and definitely loved. My only other experience was with the Hamilton Nationals playing professionally outdoor right out of college. So, to be in a city, to live in a city and do appearances and get to know the media, it was a really cool experience, and something I've took advantage of, I guess. Maybe not the right words, but something that I've really been fortunate to be a part of.
Yeah, and Kevin, as we speak with Kevin Crowley here, I know that you do some coaching back there as well, and I follow along on the social media. I see the odd Snapchat come your way. What exactly, you got the kind of a quirky little view from, I don't know if that's your house or your work. Like, what do you do outside the game besides coaching? Because I see you up kind of in like a lofted area. I don't know if that's your house or your place of employment or what you're doing there.
Yeah, I got a pretty cool place. It is a loft apartment right in Center City. It's actually on Broad Street, and it overlooks the skyline. So I do a lot of work from home for our company, which is Fusion Lacrosse. An old professional player, Steve Holmes, and myself started it up. I think it's going on 7 years now. So we started up Fusion and have grown to be in Philadelphia. We coach. We don't coach so much, but we have another branch that runs out of Richmond, Virginia, and then we train box lacrosse teams. So taking, what Steve and I both learned from playing professionally, and teaching the youth programs around the area. And most recently, we're getting the girls into box lacrosse here, which is kind of a new thing and something really cool.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that because I don't know, when was it? About a year and a half ago, I want to say, where we kind of ran into each other. My girlfriend's daughter is a box lacrosse player, and you work with Savannah. I can't remember her last name, but obviously you guys got something going there, and you were teaching the Indigenous and female box lacrosse players. And I just heard about this, that you guys kind of under the radar a little bit ran a camp or something out there in Surrey and raised a bunch of money for the Children's Hospital. You want to tell me about that?
Yeah, so our girls director is named Savannah Smith. She played at LaSalle University in Philadelphia, funny enough, and she's been great. So we had a high school team this past year that went really well, and we're looking to build on that in terms of travel teams going forward into next year. But Savannah came up with the idea of running a holiday clinic, and just kind of donate our time and have the coaching staff that have helped us with camps in the summer and with our travel teams donate their time to come out and, train youth players. And it was a by donation camp. So, parents were free to leave $1 or $100, whatever they wanted. And we were lucky enough to raise $1,200 for the BC Children's Hospital.
That's
so that
fantastic.
Was really cool.
Yeah, fantastic stuff, man. And just before I let you go here, I mentioned PVL off the top, Kevin, and you've been on board with Pure Vital Labs for a while, as have we. And I always like to ask guys that I talk to that are under that umbrella, what do you like to take the most? What do you find the most beneficial? What are you kind of packing around with you on a daily basis that keeps you game ready?
The Game Aid for sure. It's I actually fill up 3 water bottles before every game, full of Game Aid, and just making sure I'm staying hydrated throughout the game. And fortunately, I've never had any cramping issues, and I really believe that the Game Aid's to thank for that. So they've been great with me. They've helped me out a lot, obviously, keeping my body right and with the rigors of this professional sport. And I owe them a lot. Especially
when you gotta bend those long sticks up in the airplane and press those knees up against the seat. You don't want to be cramping up on the airplane.
Yeah, maybe my next contract I'll put leg room seats into it.
There you go. When you hit the 10-year mark, you can start claiming first class. Last one here for you. I lied, Kevin Crowley. Last one here for you. You being a New Westminster boy and a lot of our listeners from the local area here in the Lower Mainland, Salmon Bellies now have made some changes heading into the next season. A new leadership group there for the red, white, and blue. I know it's down the road here a little bit, but any plans for the summer to make a return? And what do you think of this new group that's going to take over from Dan Richardson?
Yeah, I really like Ray Porcelato. I had him as a coach in junior back in the day, so we have a relationship from back then. Actually, when I was home for Christmas, we had a meeting at Canada Game School, actually sitting on the bikes. We talked for like 30 minutes, and just shooting ideas back and forth. And I can tell he's very excited, and he has some great ideas for the franchise. And it's, it's nice to hear that we got a guy coming in who's really excited about the future of this team and wants to compete for a man. So obviously Dan Richardson was great for me and was great for the team. And it's looking forward to the next chapter. I really think we'll be able to turn the corner.
All right, man, you heard it right here. It looks like the Big Cat might be back in New West come summertime. We'll just have to wait and see. Kevin, I hope you had a fantastic Christmas. I know we're on the verge of turning the calendar over here. Have a fantastic New Year's, and best of luck with the Philadelphia Wings moving forward here into 2020.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thanks for spending some time. That was Kevin Crowley, former number 1 pick in the WLA, in the NLL, and the MLL, if I'm not mistaken, Evan. This guy, that's all he does. He goes number 1.
Yeah, and of course, we didn't get a chance to talk on his outdoor game too, which he's had quite the career now. In the last game, he had a 7-point night. A 7-point night is a pretty good most nights. When the team only scores 8, it's an amazing night.
Yes, indeed. No, he's been getting it done for almost a decade now, and I don't see the Big Cat slowing down any time soon. We got to get to break, though, and coming up on the other side, I think it's another first-timer on the show, Evan. I don't think we've ever had this guy on the program from the Toronto Rock.
We would have remembered this one, yes. We would have remembered this one.
Okay, well, it's Pat Gregoire's favorite player. It's Bradley Kri coming up from the Toronto Rock on the other side. You got it right here on Lax Class and the Lacrosse All-Stars Podcast Network.
Associated Labels and Packaging is in the business of creating first impressions. They'll help you reflect your company values accurately by offering solutions that fit your product needs. With the latest in printing technology and over 35 years of experience, Associated Labels and Packaging is the perfect fit for your company to take your labels and packaging to the next level.
Hi, it's Gandalf. You're listening to Lacrosse Classified on Lax All-Stars.
Welcome back to episode number 60 here of Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network. Jake Elliott, Evan Schemenauer with you. Just heard from our good friends at Associated Labels and Packaging. What they do there, they create first impressions. You can find them online at associated-labels.com. Keep up to date with their daily blog or their social media at Associated LP, as in labels and packaging. Best in the business when it comes to labels and packages. And they do it all with the environment in mind. Now, joining the program for the very first time, if I'm not mistaken here, a virgin on Lax Class, I might say, it's Brad Kri from the Toronto Rock. Bradley, welcome to Lax Class. Thanks for doing this.
The Spittin' Chicklets of Lacrosse. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, yeah. G-rated Spittin' Chicklets, I suppose. I've been tempted to just let loose and fly off the handle. I don't know if the sponsors would like that. I don't know if the NLL would kind of like that. So we try and keep it clean here. But if I think Suits was on here the other day and he dropped a 4-letter word. So if it happens, it happens. We're not going to worry about it too much. But we like to keep it clean for the kids here, Bradley. Welcome to the show and congratulations. Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas, guys.
How was your holiday? Did you get some good stuff under the tree?
It was great, actually. It was different. It was the first time in my life, I guess, where I didn't have it at my home.
Yeah, where is your home, by the way?
It is in Acton, Ontario.
Okay, and now I'm assuming that's 45 minutes away from Toronto. I'm just not sure which direction.
Yeah, it's about northwest, I guess.
Okay. Well, enough geography. Congratulations.
Well, you don't want to hear about Acton?
Well, no, you get what is Acton famous for? Tell me that.
The Old Hide House. It's a Leathertown store. It's beautiful.
Okay. I'll be sure to check that out next time I pass through.
Well, since we're talking about Acton, talk to us about minor lacrosse there. How big is it? How big's the following in that town?
Well, it's actually Halton Hills, so it's Acton and Georgetown. The Halton Hills Bulldogs.
Okay. I've heard of those guys.
Yeah, most of it's done in Georgetown.
Good stuff. How'd you think you played yourself and your team in that victory over the Rochester Nighthawks this past weekend? a nice win, but I think some room for improvement if I'm looking at it from an objective position.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty for sure. At the end of the day, we got the job done, but I guess that's what Game 3 is in the regular season. So we're preaching for consistency, so we're trying to find ourselves in our game. To get ready for the ultimate goal at the end of the season and playoffs. So a win's a win earlier on, and again, like the coaches were saying, it's a divisional game, so that was big.
I wanted to talk about your ever-evolving role in this team. You were the face-off specialist a couple of years ago. Last year, you got relieved of that duty most of the time with Jay Thornburton lineup, and your transition game really evolves when you don't have to waste all that energy with face-offs. And now you come back, and now you're the number one face-off guy again. How does taking all those face-offs impact the other aspects of your game?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's definitely tough, especially for me, because I'm not pretty with the face-offs. Like, I don't, make it effortless like Withers and those guys. Like, I can't do the pick and pop. So, for me to win a face-off, it's a full muck. So I don't think I've won many easy face-offs and got away scotch-free. So yeah, it definitely takes a lot of energy out of me. But I'm definitely taking a little more pride in it. At first, it was kind of a joke. Oh, I got to take another face-off. But at the end of the day, the job's got to get done, and it is a little rewarding.
Hey, man, successful. 16 for 26, 13 loose balls in there. You pick up 3 apples as well in the point totals.
Against the all-time face-off leader, if you remember.
Yeah, like that's a solid night, man. Don't sell yourself short here, Brett.
Yeah, I said from day one, it's definitely not on me. A lot is on the ball team. If I can get it in an area where, we've got 1 or 2 guys in there, we've got a great ball team. So those guys
spoken like a big team guy right there. 5 caused turnovers in that game as well for Bradley Kri. Let's talk about your career as a whole here, Brad. I mean, you start out with the Stealth organization and just kind of muddle along a little bit, but it wasn't really until you got to Toronto where you kind of found your stride. What do you think the difference was between your time in Vancouver to arriving in Toronto? Was it maybe just the coaching staff instilling confidence in you and believing in you, and then that led you to believe in yourself a little bit more?
Yeah, you could definitely say coaching. Like I had Matty and Junior with Orangeville.
Sure.
So we know each other very well. So he definitely knows my game a little more. I can say he's definitely helped me out, probably the most out of anyone in my lacrosse career. But going back to when I came back in Toronto, I just remember there being so many awesome veterans, like, guys like Patty Merrill, Sandy Chapman, all those guys kind of
Jeff Gilbert.
Just shown, yeah, like you can literally go down the list of guys that I played under, and it was just learning from those guys every day, seeing how they practice, all those things. I could definitely say, just makes you want to work harder, and when see older guys like that kind of staying after practice and running and shooting the ball, and it's it gives you no other choice to say, well, hey, I guess I got to kind of stay there too, and kind of gives you a kick in the butt to get better as well.
Your team's big pickup in the offseason with Dan Dawson. Talk about another veteran leader to learn from. What is it that Dan Dawson brings, maybe not only to the dressing room, but to the Tuesday night practices that changes the dynamic of the team?
Oh, I could go on for a while with Dan. I met Dan first, and when he was in Vic with me in the summer, and just his presence in the dressing room, like you said there, he doesn't even have to step on the floor to make an impact on the team. Again, with an older veteran, talk about a guy who, you don't really, he's done his reps, he's done his time, maybe he can take a break. I think, there's no other guy that's in the track more than Dan, right? So, it's crazy of how much the younger guys feed off that and see, well, Dan's in there, why can't we too? So, thinking about when I was younger and maybe I just didn't quite understand, what it takes to play in the league. I think having a guy like him around just kind of, gives you that second check to, realize where we're at and how hard we have to work to be in the league and stay in the league and be successful.
What's your jump shot like? He's got a pretty decent ball game now. You ever go 1-on-1 up against the dangerous one on the basketball court?
Oh man, he's a load. We had a couple 1-on-1 games, and fortunate for me, we kind of created an alliance.
Oh, smart play.
Yeah, we had the East versus West in 2v2, and we won majority of those. Just we just had them in size. So
yeah, speaking of winning and losing and East versus West and all that sort of stuff, I know your boy Nicky Rose, big time Northman alumni organizer, and if I'm not mistaken, it was the annual hockey tournament for the Hornheads over the holiday season there, Bradley. Walk me through this now. You on Team Black, Team Silver, Team Glennie? What was happening back there? And I heard a game was under protest. Somebody lost a tooth. What was going on there with the Northman alumni?
I should ask Nick. He just walked in the door, but I had to work yesterday, so I don't know anything that happened.
Oh man, yeah, check it out. I heard Mikey Sutton got a tooth chipped, and the game was still played, but it was under protest. That's unfortunate, and honestly, I get super jealous every time I see the golf tourney and the hockey tourney and all the stuff that the alumni for the Northmen do. Like, for people that don't know, the Northmen alumni is the best in lacrosse. Like, I don't care if it's pro, junior, senior. Like, it is awesome the way that organization is run.
It is, yeah. I'm really upset I missed it, but I can tell you, I'm not surprised. Like 2 or 3 years ago, the games get heated. I remember I got stitches in my lip from Patty Merrill and I were battling for a puck, and the puck came up and hit me in the lip. But I came out with a couple zips there, and I know the older guys take some serious pride in those games against the younger kids, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we have to ask you about this because, we chat with Pat Gregoire a ton. And for those that don't know, Pat Gregoire's man crush is you.
Huge,
and he does not stop talking about you nonstop. Tell us the backstory here between the relationship between you two.
I don't think there is a backstory.
It's just Pat's in love with you, Brad. That's about it. There's no real backstory to it. I think he's just a huge fan of Bradley Kri's game, and it's just blossomed into this kind of love affair. I don't know.
Really? Well, this is kind of news to me. I mean, I'm not on the social media too much.
Yeah, well, maybe expect like a Valentine in the mail come February. Who knows what will happen there? We'll keep tabs on it as we move along, as we speak with Bradley Kri here. Next couple games coming up for you guys. You get Rochester again, but on your home floor, and then you'll take on the Bandits and renew that rivalry once again. I know you don't want to look too far ahead here, Brad, but these divisional matchups are super important now with this 3-division alignment.
Yeah, it's kind of new to all of us. I never really thought about it much until Maddie and Brucey and the coaching staff were talking about it, and then you kind of look at it and you're like, wow, like these, we have 2 back-to-back games against Rochester right now in our division. So it was kind of like an eye opener, like, before we started talking about it. Like, yeah, like these games are, I mean, every game's big in this league, but these next couple of weeks are definitely huge.
I think we're done, Brad. I got nothing left for you. I appreciate you coming on here. Evan's asking me if I should ask you about Challen. What do you got here, Evan? Just speak up.
Well, I mean, Challen's just one of these interesting guys who continues to amaze you every time, especially when he gets a transition chance. Tell us just what we don't maybe see about Challen that just blows your mind.
Challen, yeah. I mean, he's just a special talent. I think he's just finally getting that opportunity. He's bigger, he's faster and stronger. So that's what everyone's noticing about him. And that just goes back to, he's at the track every day working out, right? So, he's put in a great opportunity where he has opportunities to succeed in the weight room and whenever he's taking shots. So I think that's the reason why he's leveled his game up. Is he's bigger, he's faster, stronger, and then the coaching staff have given him that opportunity on offense as well.
Yeah, maybe the most well-rounded player in the game right now. Like, the kid just gets it done wherever he is on the floor, and if he's not on the floor, maybe he's in the locker room dancing to single ladies for the camera there. I don't. Has he done that lately?
Like that.
Yeah, no.
he's pretty. He's been pretty tame lately, but
okay.
Yeah, he's pretty humble too about it all too, so it's pretty cool. He's not he won't tell you any of that stuff.
No.
It's good having him around, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Hey, Brad, hope you had a great Christmas. Be safe out there on New Year's. Best of luck against the Nighthawks and the rest of the season with the Toronto Rock, and hopefully our paths cross sooner or later, and if not, we're going to have to do this again right here on Lacrosse Classified. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. That was Brad Kri, Pat Gregoire's favorite player right there, Evan, and Brad had no idea.
And one of the guys, if I recall, when we had the year-end vote last year, was fairly high up in the most improved in player category.
Yeah.
Especially with the fact that he had that chance to focus on defense and focus on transition. It's one of these role players that every team needs, and it might not show up on the stat sheet as much as it does all the time.
Yeah, I'm still a little blown away that Vancouver just let him go for nothing. And Toronto was quick to snatch up Bradley Kri, and rightly so. We got to get to break here, Evan. Fourth quarter is coming up next. Under review, who you got? News and notes. It's all coming up next here on episode number 60 of Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network.
A Vancouver Warriors game at Rogers Arena sounds like this.
Jones shoots and he scores! Diving effort from Mitch Jones.
Nothing's monotone.
Lee and Beers go crashing into the crease.
Nothing's boring.
Now we're going to have a fight. It's the captain squaring off.
And at Vancouver Warriors games,
loads up.
Nothing's offside.
Tries a shot and he scores!
Experience it for yourself. Vancouver Warriors tickets are available now. Tickets starting from $19.95. Visit VancouverWarriors.com/tickets today.
Hey, this is Brad Challoner, voice of the Vancouver Warriors. You're listening to Lacrosse Classified on the Lax All-Stars Podcast Network. Time now for Who You Got.
All right, fans, welcome back to episode number 60 here of Lax Class. Jake Elliott, Ev, and Shaminar with you. Fourth quarter time here on the program. No more breaks, as you just heard from our friends at the Vancouver Warriors right there. Coming off a Sunday fun day, which looked like a lot of fun there. They had the carnival going down after the game as well. They had the thunder sticks, the face painting, all that sort of stuff going on, all in conjunction with the cheap beer, the cheap food, the cheap popcorn, all that sort of stuff. And the tickets raised a bunch of money for the Goss family and Emily Goss, which was fantastic over Sunday. Big stretch coming up here for Vancouver now. They're going to play on the 4th and then a couple of weeks off and then on the 17th. But what makes it big here, Evan, is they're going to play back-to-back against the Colorado Mammoth. And this could really kind of dictate how their season is going to go. If they go 2-0, fantastic. 1-1, I think they'd be okay with. But if they go 0-2, they're going to be in some trouble here. So 2 big games coming up against the Colorado Mammoth. The home game is on the 17th. It's beach party night. I think Mr. Biz Nasty's coming back into town for that one. If I recall, he told everybody that they're going to be laid, Evan. They're getting laid at the beach party.
Everybody gets laid, yeah. So it's a Hawaiian beach party theme night.
There you go.
But a critical stretch. You're absolutely right. Because in the West, 3 teams are probably going to the playoffs. 4th is an extreme long shot that you're getting in. So if you're gonna, you need to win these division games, even more critical than you normally do, because you got to get up in the standings in a 5-team division where you got to get to 3rd.
Yeah, divisional games are just critical now with this 3-divisional format. Promo code BIZ20, swipe up or Call 604-899-4625. Hit option 1. Talk to my man, the Chad, or visit VancouverWarriors.com. Get hooked up today. Don't wait. Next home game is January the 17th. It's Hawaiian Beach Party Night. Biz Nasty and the Vancouver Warriors taking on the Colorado Mammoth. I plan to not be there, Evan, because I will be in Saskatchewan as Colorado going to play in Vancouver on the 17th. Then they're going to play in Saskatchewan on the 18th. So that's a tough weekend there for the Mammoth. But
and for those that are commentators new to the league, just rewind the last 5 seconds of what you said, because
Saskatchewan, is that Saskatchewan?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. Hey man, it's I got to give guys a break. Like, it's not an easy, and you don't pronounce it the way it looks, and it's tough for people that may not be Canadian or live in the market or anywhere near or never been to say Saskatchewan properly. So hopefully the broadcast crew there is listening, and they'll get better. I'm convinced of it. I didn't mind the call there from New York with my buddy Mr. Luxurious Mitch Belisle. And let's do this, Evan. Let's get in to Under Review.
It's time for Under Review, presented by G. Wilson Construction. Each week, Jake and Evan answer a listener's question or break down an unusual call that happened in a game. The challenge flag has been thrown, so now it's time to take the matter under review.
There, you just heard it right there from PA announcer for the Vancouver Warriors, Don Andrews. G. Wilson Construction, Under Review, an award-winning firm with a single focus, building fine custom homes. They are working on an absolute doozy up in Whistler right now. You should see this thing, Evan. It is impressive. I can just...
I can't see it because, remember, they don't...
No, I know. You got to have... It's classified information, but I can tell you it is something to behold. G. Wilson Construction, Under Review. Evan, we're taking the delay a game penalty assessed to the Calgary Roughnecks over the weekend for arriving late or starting the game late from the Saddle Dome. Now, if you'll recall, back on episode 48, we had the assistant GM and head coach of the Calgary Roughnecks, Curt Malawsky, on the program, and he said this about maybe arriving late back to Calgary.
It is what it is. Everybody's got their challenges. I don't necessarily like our schedule, but there's a lot of teams that probably don't. And, the NLL is trying to grow the game and doing the best they can. It's with trying to accommodate for everybody else and try to get the fan bases going and try to continue to have great fan bases. So put my league hat on. It is what it is, and we'll battle through it. But no sense belly aching about it. But it's not easy. There's the one game where we got to play in San Diego, and the first flight out of there was 6 a.m. So we're not going to get the guys up at 3:30 to try to make it. We're going to take an 11 o'clock. And tip for any fans, we might just be getting there for an 8:30 start. So grab the beer at the Dome and enjoy yourself until we get there, because the league didn't want to change it. So we're going to take the one that gets us there when we think we need to get there.
So you just heard there, Curt knew the circumstances here, and obviously not something he wanted to have happen, but it sounds like he was okay if it did happen. And ultimately it did. And add to that, the Philadelphia Wings scoring on that delay game penalty, and they go on to win the game by 1 goal. So you wonder, would he make the same decision again? But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the actual delay a game penalty. Break it down, Evan Schemenauer.
So first off, there was another option for a flight for Calgary. Now, the one unfortunate thing is that San Diego Airport is closed down from about 11 p.m. to about 6 a.m. So there's not even a flight out of San Diego after the game that they could have taken. So there was an option to go at 6 a.m., which would have got them back to Calgary around 3 p.m. Now, Saskatchewan had to take this exact same flight a year ago. And they had to leave. Now, there's no direct flight between San Diego and Saskatoon. They went to Phoenix. They got back to Saskatoon about 5 p.m. And you and I recall talking to those guys after that game against Philadelphia. Like,
zombies.
They were just
zombies.
They didn't know where they were at
because
anymore.
Here's what happens, Evan. You finish the game, whatever it may be, 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Well, this was even later because there was an 8 p.m. start.
So then
time.
you unwind, you get your gear off, you shower, you get out of there, you get your suit back on, you get out of there, get on the bus, you get back to the hotel. So you're looking at another hour and a half after that. Then you got to eat. You're still cranked right up from playing a lacrosse game in front of thousands of people. And I know just from calling games how wired I get. Like, I can't sleep after a game. I can't imagine what it's like for a player. And then you're going to be up at 3:30 in the morning to get to the airport for 4 o'clock for a 6 a.m. flight. And that's the decision that Curt Malawsky said, you know what, we're not doing it. We asked the league to change the start time. They didn't want to do it. So we're going to get back when we think we need to be back by. And if we don't get back by then, well, then we'll take a delay of game penalty.
And just to clarify a few things, so some fans were spreading some incorrect information on this. So it's a direct flight that leaves San Diego at 11:30. Then you get a full night's sleep. Direct flight, you don't have to worry about missing a connection somewhere. And it actually did land at Calgary Airport 2 minutes ahead of schedule. So they got in at 5:51 p.m. Okay, but still, you've got to go through customs. You've got to collect your luggage. You've got to get everybody on the bus, drive to the Saddle Dome. So by the time the Roughnecks got to the Saddle Dome, it's already 7:30. It's 30 minutes before game time, and therefore they had to delay the game to give the players even a chance to warm up. And from what I've been told, they were warming up while Philadelphia's in the dressing room.
Yeah, and normally teams will get to the arena 2 hours and 15 minutes before a game. That's how long the kind of the preparation is from arriving at the arena to face off. Guys like at least 2 hours to go through that process.
Now, to give you the exacts, and in fact, I was in touch with Brian Lemon on this to get the exacts. If you want to look at the NLL rulebook, and if you want to find it, go to the NLL website, and under the tab that says About, the rulebook is in the menu there. 2 rules to look up. One is Rule 13.1. The other one is 95.7. And they both pretty much say the exact same thing here. And the back half of 13.1, I'll read it out to you. It says, clubs failing to start a game on time for televised games as per the agreed broadcast timing sheet are subject to a fine by the league. A delay of game minor penalty will be assessed when a team fails to enter the floor before the start of the first and third quarters. Teams that fail to enter the floor upon their pregame introduction will also be subject to a fine by the league. This isn't the first time that this rule has been enforced. It was enforced a couple of years ago against Rochester, now under much different circumstances, in that Rochester was trying to fly down to Georgia. A winter storm hits the northeast U.S. Their flights get canceled and get canceled a second time. And now they're trying to find a charter plane, or they're trying to find whatever means, planes, trains, and automobiles to get people down to Georgia. The game was delayed about an hour 15 by the time Rochester had enough players to actually field a team down in Georgia. And as much as this was really beyond the control of Rochester, they got assessed the same delay of game penalty because that's what the rule book states will happen. In this case, the Roughnecks did opt to take the later flight. Now, is that expected? Is that scheduling appropriate? I'll leave that for you to decide. But this is in the rule book, and for those Roughneck fans that are conspiracy theorists, this wasn't applied to the Roughnecks because it's the Roughnecks. This has happened before, and the same travel schedule has also happened before to the Rush.
Yeah, and I get where the league is coming from on this, Evan, because, you know, when we get to a point where we got national TV deals and things got to start on time, you can't be just kind of picking and choosing when you arrive to a game and when you start a game. And I get where Calgary's coming from. It's a brutal schedule for them to try and play a game in San Diego and then turn around and get back to Calgary. and start on time there as well without, just taxing the bejesus out of your team going on no sleep and really not giving yourself a chance to win the game. So I kind of get it from both sides, but there's so many more things to kind of take into consideration, and probably the number one is the fans, right? They're coming to the arena expecting the game to start on a certain time, and they have lives and things to do, and when you're asking 17,000 people to sit around and wait, that's not a good thing. You got employees at the Saddle Dome, you got parking attendants, all the rest of it. So a lot of things go into consideration when scheduling games and scheduling the start time of games, and this is the end result of it. Calgary knew what they were doing, and they did it, and they got a penalty for it, and they're probably going to get a fine for it, and then they still lose the game, which, I think if they go on to win that game, Evan, they'll feel just fine about paying that fine and taking that penalty, but the fact that they lost the game, lost it by 1 goal, has got to really sting.
Well, I think that they're not even close to winning that game if they took the 6 a.m.
Yeah, you're probably right.
We saw what happened to the Rush. Like, they were just so out of it.
Yeah, the Rush actually got it done.
They were trying to get was on the plane.
Yeah, and I always think that to myself too. Like, I'm going to stay up or whatever, but don't worry, I'll sleep on the plane. You never sleep on the plane. Like, you may think you do, but you really don't. You're not getting a good night's sleep by any means. So I think in the grand scheme of things here, like, everybody wants the ideal perfect schedule, and nobody wants to have all these crazy travel times and all the rest of it, but it's the world that we're living in right now, and you just got to deal with it the best way you know how, and I think that's what everybody involved here did. I think Calgary did what they thought was best for them, the league did what's best for them, and that was the end result of it, right? A delay game penalty and probably a fine coming their way. And it's not, like you said, not the first time it's happened. Probably won't be the last time it happened. And I think it's also a bit of a work in progress here to try and make it all work for everybody.
Exactly. And if we go back to the very start of this whole segment, Coach Malawsky said, is it ideal? No. Are they going to bellyache about it? No. It is what it is, and they're trying to grow a league.
There you go. And that's exactly what they did, and a heck of a game it was. So there was Under Review, and I think that was a good one. By the way, fans, if you got something on your mind, you want to get off your chest, or you're confused on something, you don't understand a rule or a call or maybe even a scheduling quirk or whatever it is, you have something on your mind you want to get off your chest, find us. You can get at me at PXP for Sports. Evan is at ShemLax. The show is at Lax Class. Tweet at us, slide into the DMs, let us know you got something on your mind that you want answered, and we'll do our best to deliver that to you at least once a week. Light week 6 here, Evan, just 2 games. If you'll recall, I'm in the lead by 1 game here, 13-7 I am. 2 games to go here for week 6. Take it away. Oh, actually, no. Don't take it away yet, because I need to tell you that Who You Got's brought to you by Stampede, Tack, and Western Wear, your complete source for Wrangler jeans. Evan, the deal is still on. Sign up now. Save yourself $10 when you buy yourself a pair of men's or ladies' Wrangler jeans or pants. Stampede.ca, shopping online, still shopping local. Thanks to our friends at Stampede Tack for sponsoring Who You Got. Now, Evan, who you got?
Jake, who you got?
Who you got?
Who you got?
Who you got?
Who you got? Who ya got?
Who you got? Take it away, Evan.
All right, so just the 2 games. So first off, a battle of the newbies in the East. You got Philadelphia headed up on the train up to New York. Who you got?
I think they're going to take the train. They're going to take the train. They might take the train.
It's faster to take the train from Philadelphia to Long Island Station than it is to fly to JFK.
Yeah, well, that makes sense then. Take the train. Listen, I am going to implore the strategy here. Show me. And I did this with Philadelphia last year. I wouldn't pick them until they got me a win, until they got a win, proved to me that they could win. And now that's the strategy I'm going to take here with the New York Riptide. Show me you can put a win in the win column before I'm picking you. So give me the Philadelphia Wings to beat the Riptide.
Give me the Wings too. The simple fact here is New York got beat up twice this past weekend. This might be their best chance to have a close game, but I think that's the best I can hope for in this one, is a close game. So definitely going to take the Wings. And same night, we talked about this game just at the start of this segment. Vancouver, in need of a division win, headed to red-hot Colorado. What do you got?
I can't pick against the Mammoth here after what they've done their last two games, beating Calgary, then beating Georgia. I think Vancouver, if they're going to beat Colorado, it's going to come on their home floor. I don't see it happening down in Denver. I think the Mammoth win this one. It's going to be a tight one, Evan, but I think the Mammoth win it inside the Loud House. Give me Colorado.
I think every game is going to be a tight game with the Mammoth just because you expect them to score 8, 9, 10 goals and try and win the game, right? But I'm still taking the Mammoth. It might make for boring that we're taking all the same picks. I got plenty of season to catch you still, but they're playing too well at this stage to pick against them.
Yeah, you just like hosting who you got, I think is what's happening here, Evan. Okay, so just two games. We're both taking Philly to beat New York. We're both taking Colorado to beat Vancouver, which leads us to just news and notes left here on episode 60. And I don't have much. I mentioned Holden Garland scoring his first goal, Lloyd for Vancouver getting his, Crowley Bradley getting one for the Seals as well. And I think I touched on this briefly last week as well, Evan. But there's not many things I enjoy more than watching a rookie, whether it's a young rookie or a guy that's just broken into the league, get their first National Lacrosse League goal and just see the pure jubilation on their face and their teammates, how happy they are for them as well. I love watching guys score their first goal in the league.
Yeah, and like I said last week, you don't know if you're ever going to make the NLL, right? It's your lifelong goal, but that's kind of your I'm here moment when you finally get that first goal. So you've been working towards that moment for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know? It's a pretty big deal.
Speaking of I'm here moments, Hayden Dixon for the Calgary Roughnecks in San Diego. Man, did he ever arrive on the scene. Puts up a hat trick in his first NLL game. Two of them were absolutely gorgeous. The Flatlander there from Delta and in the Chancellor's neck of the woods, Hayden Dixon with a hat trick for the Roughnecks over the Seals in that Friday game. A couple of guys that scored their first goal in the league a long time ago. Curtis Dixon hitting the 400-goal plateau for the Roughnecks. And you mentioned Callum Crawford, that 14-point. He started the night 14 points back of 1,000, and he hits the mark with a 14-point night.
Yep.
Callum Crawford, 1,000 points in the National Lacrosse League. Curtis Dixon with 400 goals. These are two guys that have been playing at an elite level for a long time, and two big-time players hitting two big-time milestones.
Safe to say Callum Crawford makes the top 10 of the all-time points pretty soon. But, you know, like I said, Mark Steenhouse had 17. That's the record, and it was close to being broken.
He had a chance. And then at the end, I text him, I was like, good God, Callum, like, easy.
Yeah.
And his reply is like, I don't even think I played that well.
Yeah.
14 points.
But if you think that he wants that MVP back that he could have had last year,
he's on a mission.
He's the front runner right now.
Yeah, he's on a mission, and he warned us about those shoes that he was going to wear at home as well. Evan, did you check those things out? My goodness.
No,
they were like bright neon yellow and easy to pick out showtime out on the floor. So congratulations to Curtis and to Callum on their milestones. Even my man Greggy Harnett there, that Jimmy let us know, he hit 200 penalty minutes, which he was quite proud of as well.
I'm not surprised, no, but okay.
All right, that was a jam-packed episode of Lacrosse Classified right there. Everybody, 2019 is about to come to a close here. 2020 is on the horizon, just hours away now, and I can't believe a decade has kind of come and gone here, Evan. And it's funny, like I think back to I was doing back in 2010 to what I'm doing now and kind of where I was in life to where I am now and all the different things I had done in that 10-year span, it boggles my mind on how much life can change in 10 years.
I think back to it, it was like, okay, what was I doing back when the last decade came across? I was starting my own business, which I still have to this day, and which, keep in mind, about 80% of businesses fail within the first 2 years, so I got to be proud of that. And World Junior Hockey Championships were in Saskatoon at that exact time, and I was awaiting Vasily's birth.
Yeah.
He was about 2 months along at that point, so
I just had my daughter. Of course, the Olympics were here in Vancouver as well in 2010, and I hadn't even joined the Swarm at that point. And it was funny when I was texting with Kevin and I DM'd him on Twitter, and I look at the last message I had sent him on Twitter in his DMs, and it was about getting his phone number for John Arlotta to talk to him about the upcoming entry draft. That's how long ago that was. As we all know, Kevin went number 1 in Minnesota. I think had the second pick that year. But just kind of boggles my mind on how much life can change in 10 years. And it's been a fun ride, and I can't wait for 2020 and the ride to continue with you and Lacrosse Classified here, man. It's gonna be fun.
Well, it's gonna be a blast, and it's not just another year, but it's another decade. And I'm thinking, it's like, man, by the time this decade's up, I'm going to have an empty household. So,
and maybe
by the time that happens.
And the most exciting part of it all is just to maybe just see where the National Lacrosse League goes in the next 10 years under Nick Sakevich and his leadership. I just think the sky is the limit for this league, and the direction that he's got it going in right now. I cannot wait for the next 10 years to see where we're at by the time 2030 rolls around.
Well, and maybe by that time I'm down and living in Vegas full time watching another home team, right?
Yeah, maybe I'll be down there with you, Evan. Who knows? Okay, that's it for episode number 60. Thanks to Brad Kri for coming by, and to Kevin Crowley for stopping by the show as well. To our sponsors, of course, Associated Labels and Packaging, Pure Vital Labs, Stampede, Tack, and Western Wear, the Vancouver Warriors, and G. Wilson Construction. To you, the loyal listener, for listening to Lacrosse Classified all year long. We're going to be coming back at you in 2020 every single Tuesday right here on the Lacrosse All-Stars Podcast Network. For Evan Schemenauer, I've been Jake Elliott, and for the fastest game on 2 feet, and for the creator, Happy New Year and enjoy the games, everybody.